It's now time for Me and My Roku with host Peter Clay. Guess who came to dinner?
So I told my guy, Peter,
Pete, you are not.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another fantastic edition of Me and My Roku. I am your host, Peter Clay. It is fun to be with you here. In just a little over a month now since I've brought the podcast back after about 8-9 years. We got 191 listeners so far, and I can't thank you guys so much for subscribing so far. I know that sounds like a little, but I've done no marketing at all on this whatsoever, other than some word of mouth and going, "Hi, I have a podcast." Other than that, that's it. And so just to have that many, I really thank those who are giving this a try, and hopefully you stay subscribed and you tell others to subscribe too as well. So can't thank you enough. We got a lot to talk about today. I have an apology to do. I'll do that later in the program. The dangers of inviting me over for dinner, and a little tip or trick to keep things fresh for your equipment and everything like that. So let's get started. Okay. So we had a little get-together with a couple friends of ours. We tried to get together at least once a quarter, if not sooner, but just catch up, swig some beers, make dinner, all that stuff, and chit-chat and all that stuff. And things are going well. But, of course, in my brain, I'm always just kind of scanning and looking at things. And so I just happened to notice a TV in the living room, a TV in the kitchen where we were on the island, a TV in what used to be a mud room, which is now kind of a four-season that leads to the patio outside. And he just happened to mention that they had a TV in the bedroom and the kids' room. And I want to reiterate, I'm just noticing these things. I'm not saying anything. Because, you ever have that friend or had a friend that, like, gets into Amway or something like that, and every time you get together, they just want to sell you things and stuff like that? Because, once again, I want to reiterate, I'm not an employee of Roku. I'm not sponsored by them. I get endorsements or anything like that. I just notice things. So I didn't bring anything up until they mention they spend $200 a month on cable. Well, at that point then, milk spills out of my nose, and I was drinking beer. So I'm going crazy at this point. So then I must say, well, have you ever thought about a Roku? And they go, "Oh, yeah, I heard about that. I don't know anything about that, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da." Look, it was a very good conversation. We did end up talking about way more a part of the night, but it was just an idea of like, how would you like to save $1,000 a year? Because if you just cut it down to a cable, get a promotion from maybe a competitor, they had mentioned that somebody was bringing fiber in through their front yard and all that stuff. Maybe give it a try, because that's just ridiculous. But it's their life. That's what they do. I do something different, and I've been doing it for over 10 years now, and I spend on all the programming I get around about $100 a month. And 2/3 of that is just for the internet itself. I go a little crazy. I do different things along the way. This is why I don't ask for donations or anything like that. I've got a system right now, and I get gift cards and things like that I get different programming. I get free baseball from T-Mobile. I find, I search for these things, So that's me. That's what I do for fun type of thing. He's a hardworking guy. He's got things. When he gets home, he wants to be with his wife. He wants to have dinner with his kids and stuff like that. And when he turns the TV on, he wants it to work. I get it. It's totally fine. However, you could save $1,000 a year just getting internet, then start with one Roku. I was just listening to Bob Proctor video, from the Secret. Yeah, whatever. But anyway, he mentioned one thing. He says, you notice the guy that spins 18 plates in a row, it's just like, wow, isn't that fantastic? How does he do that? Well, in order to spin 18 plates, he had to learn how to spin one plate. So I have 3 Rokus, a Fire TV, and 2 Chromecasts, and a Amazon Android TV type of thing. So I started with 1 Roku XD, and it grew from there, and I learned different things along the way. So I don't expect him to go into this and think, oh, I'm just going to throw all these Rokus and all these things. No, start with 1 to see how it feels. Because he was having an issue with his big 65-inch TV, which was a smart TV. And I said, well, blow on it. I didn't really mean that, but it's the same difference. Just unplug it for a day and then just let it reset itself type of thing. And then he texted me back and said that worked. So he's thinking about getting a Roku now and just trying it out. Because he noticed something on what he was doing and thought that maybe just in the kitchen, you just plug in an antenna. Because just over the air in our area right now, there's 24 channels. Do you really need cable for that? You're not that far away from the towers in this town. So just give it a try. And then another thing, he was enjoying something with his kid. One of the ways they do to bond is to watch these wrestling videos on a sports app. Well, I thought, if they have an app on the computer, maybe they have an app on the Roku. Well, it turns out they did. And I forwarded that along to him, and he says he'll check it out. We'll see. If I come back in a month or so or anything like that, and they decide to stay with cable, am I just going to be like, that's it, I'm out of here. No Rokus, no dinner, that's it. No, I'm not going to do that. But what kind of friend would I be, though, if I just didn't have to mention that you could potentially save $1,000? You don't spin 18 plates in a row without learning how to spin 1. You don't get 3 Rokus, an Amazon Fire TV, 2 Chromecasts, an Android TV, and a beer in a tree without starting with 1 Roku. It's time, kids, once again to thank our friends at archive.org. Couldn't do it without them, and to be quite frank, not quite sure I want to do it without them. They've just been fantastic, and since I don't have kids or anything like that, where else am I going to leave my legacy type of thing? So just archive all of my recordings and everything like that, because that's kind of what they do. Not just audio recordings, the whole internet. And they're doing a great service right now where they're trying to save all the 78 records in the world. Not all of them, but I mean, if you think about it, 250,000 sides, that's quite a bit. So, there's a lot of duplicates out there. So when you narrow it all down, if you get 250,000 to 500,000, depending on how much more they can raise, you've just preserved a part of history right there. And with vinyl making a comeback, 78 records are a big part of that. So if you see them at a flea market sometime or anything like that, pick them up and then send them to the Internet Archive so they can archive that. So if you have more questions on that or anything that they do, just check them out. Archive.org. Movies, internet, books, anything like that. It's like a library. Think of it like that way, without a card. Just go in there and explore. Support them today, archive.org. We thank them. We love them. And by we, I mean me. I love the Internet Archive and archive.org.
Baby, come on.
Okay. Well, I want to start this segment off with an apology. Last week, I mentioned a dumb article from John Porter of The Verge on Samsung TVs offering a virus scan, and The Verge then made it seem like, well, this is a bad idea, or why you don't want a smart TV or a Samsung TV to be specific. And I said that was a dumb article, and I want to apologize. It was a dumb, lazy, clickbaity article. I'm sorry I didn't make that come across better. My bad. I'm sorry. I apologize. See, anything that's connected to the internet is susceptible to whatever. Malware, viruses, infections, scurvy, something. It's there's a danger. And so if Samsung wants to offer something, why would The Verge then want to use that as a way to criticize and clickbait when it's as a reminder to say, hey, be aware. And that's what I thought Samsung was trying to do, and The Verge tried to take it another way to go clicky, clicky, clicky. So, I apologize. It wasn't a dumb article. It was a dumb, lazy, clickbaity article. So, hopefully I've made my point clear on that now. And again, as a reminder, this is something that I do. I'm not saying here's the top 10 things that you need to do, but this is something I do is one, check your router very frequently. If not once a week, at least once a month, just to make sure everything's up to date. Firmware and no one's connecting, everything's the way it's supposed to be. Just check that out. You can do that through your computer. And maybe even on an app these days. I'm sure your router has an app. Because I'm finding so many things. I'm looking at Reddit for trying to get material and things, and it's just been awful. And all I get is people say, I can't connect to Netflix, and I updated the Hulu app, and now it doesn't work. Oh, what do I do? Blah, 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 blah. So just check your router every now and then. And here's another little tip that this is what I do. I have a dual band router. So it's not 5G, it's just a frequency. So there's 2.4K and a 5K. And so it shows up as 5G on my thing. And so I think that's just used for shtick. But I put my Rokus, Chromecasts, and different things on not the Chromecast actually. So just the Rokus. Thank you for reminding me. That I put them on the 5K. The 2.4 is susceptible to other interference in your house. Not typically cordless phones anymore or anything like that, but your microwave and maybe your next door neighbor, because we're all 6 feet away from each other type of thing. So check your router, make sure the firmware is up to date, and if you have a dual band router, separate your Rokus and your media devices from your phones and tablets and computers and things like that. Just a little thing I'd throw out there for you. Something that I do to help me enjoy me and my Roku so that you can enjoy you and your Roku. That's all I got for you today. Thanks to archive.org for their support. We love them so much. You can subscribe to the Me and My Roku podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. Yeah, YouTube. Why not? Because why would iHeartMedia want to be involved with that then? We got plenty there. We don't need them. You can follow me on Twitter at Radio Affliction. And if you have questions, comments, you want to send me like a Hulu gift card or something like that, just for the love of it all, that's okay. You can email me at meandmyrokupodcast@gmail.com. That's all I have for you this time. I'm hoping you're enjoying you and your Roku as much as I'm enjoying me and my Roku. I'll join you real soon.